Are you ready? Stand by.
Welcome to the Three Gun Show, your source for technique, strategy, and match recon, brought to you by Armalite Rifles, LAG Tactical, and Breda Shotguns. I'm your host, Dave Hartman. This week we have a unique episode and a couple of guests to help me do it. Cody Allenbaugh is a guy that is no stranger to Three Gun. I met Cody on the range when he was ROing a match, and I've come to learn that Cody is an avid run and gun racer as well. It just so happens that I'm helping put on a run and gun at my local range with our Three Gun match director, Mike Griswold. Mike came in the studio with me to do the match recon of the Superstition Mountain Mystery Three Gun, which is up on the Patreon feed right now. And you can get access to that at patreon.com/threegunshow. And we use this opportunity to pick Cody's brain on how to set up and run our own match. This podcast is brought to you by Breda USA, Italian shotguns that are the best in the world. And this is a shotgun tech tip from Team Breda. Hey, this is Dave Hartman from the Three Gun Show, and I'm with Cheyenne Dalton from Team Breda, and she has a tech tip for us today. Cheyenne, what do you got?
So I think it's really important to practice using your match saver on your shotgun. It can really save your life on a stage, if you run dry. So what I like to do is set up a few targets, load 2 or 3 shells, and practice running the shotgun dry and using a match saver. So usually the match saver is right in front of your port, and you're going to take your left hand and scrape the shell back into the chamber and close the bolt, and that's how you do it.
Awesome. That's your tech tip from Cheyenne Dalton from Team Breda. Check out Breda's B12i 3-gun ready inertia-driven shotgun at bredausa.com. That's BREDA. This podcast is brought to you by LAG Tactical. I've been using LAG gear for 3 years now, and I just got an upgrade into their new for 2018 MCS mag pouches. MCS stands for Modular Carry System and is a 2-piece design that fits most double-stack 9 and 40 mags and most AR mags. That means I can loan gear to someone in need on the range, even if we're shooting different guns. I've been using these pouches for many matches now, and they've been great. I like that you can choose the retention based on what is required by the stage, speed demon or locked in tight. I've been shooting the low-cut Supernova holster as well, and it has been a dream. They make it in a mid and high cut too if you're into that, but I'm digging the low cut, super fast draws, and plenty of retention when you need it. Check them out, lagtactical.com, and use code 3GS in all caps to save yourself 10% when placing an order. The show recently hit a milestone that I want to share with you. I was working on a report for the Three Gun Show's numbers the other day, and I noticed that we have reached 700,000 downloads. That's pretty incredible when you think about it. It honestly seems like just yesterday that I started this podcast, and we're 3 years in now, and I've had the opportunity to go all over the country and spreading that good three-gun joy, and it's honestly been incredible. We are the voice of Three Gun, and I thank you for listening to the podcast, and I thank you for telling your friends. Let's keep this thing going. Let's have more episodes, more years to come, and let's keep this thing growing as well. So if you enjoy the podcast, you get something out of it, be sure to tell a friend. And this particular podcast here is all about running and gunning. So we talk gear specific to run and gun, side benefit of losing weight and getting ripped while training to shoot these matches. And like I said, Mike and I are going to be running a match of our own the second weekend in October of 2018, if you listen to this in the future. So we picked Cody's brain on everything from run distances to number of stages, how they set up target arrays, staggering shooters to prevent backups, and of course, how do we score it? So enjoy this one with Cody Allenbaugh. Cody, welcome to the Three Gun Show.
Hello. Glad to be here, Dave.
Man, I'm pumped to have you here, dude. Cody, we have a good topic to talk about here. We're going to talk about some run and gun. But before we do that, and before we get into a little bit of your story as a shooter, I want to introduce my co-host, Mike Griswold.
How you doing, Dave? How you doing, Cody?
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. Can't complain.
Good. Well, I'm excited to have you guys here. So For the audience, a little bit of background on Mike Griswold. We kind of dove into his story in a match recon we just did on the Superstition Mountain Mystery 3 guns. So if you're a patron, you're going to have the full story on that. And if not, come on, buy in and learn about Mike here. But Mike, you are match director at Ben Lamont Gun Club for Big Ben Multi-Gun.
Correct.
And you've been doing that for about 4 years now.
Yep, just started our 4th year.
And you and I have been shooting together, I want to say like 8 years now, something like that.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, we've been shooting together for a long time, and we've been talking about doing a obstacle course run and gun for about 2 years now.
Yep.
Maybe more. Maybe a little more.
Yep.
Yeah.
2 or 3.
2 or 3. So for the audience and for Cody here, we decided we know what we want, and we know what we want it to be, but we don't know if there's a reason we shouldn't do all this.
Correct.
So we figured we need to get some outside help in this, like a run and gun consultant, if you will.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? Cody would be perfect for this because Cody has experience in 3-gun, experience in extensive experience as an RO, experience in run and gun, and both from the competitor and the RO side, and Cody's putting on matches.
Yep, match director.
So we figure like, hey, let's pick Cody's brain here and see if he can save us from ourselves.
Yeah, tell us what to do and what not to do.
That's awful high praise. I hope I live up to the expectation.
Well, we do too here. So
if it doesn't work, we're going to blame you.
Everybody always does.
Everybody needs a scapegoat, right?
Yeah.
Well, Cody, I'm excited to have you on here, man. And when we were talking at Texas 3-Gun, I caught you when you were winded after running a stage, and I was like, hey, man, I got this idea. And you're like, sure. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm just going to hold you to that.
Yeah. We had some stages that were a lot like run and gun down at Texas, where there's a lot of running.
Yeah.
I saw some of the videos. It looked fun.
And Cody was the RO for the 3-bay, what do you call it? Just 3-bay stage. It's called Out of Breath.
Three bay stage, and you definitely were out of breath by the time you get to the end of it.
Like I can't hold my breath that long, Mike. I was running. I usually hold my breath when I shoot the entire time, and I actually had to breathe a couple times on this one here. It was kind of fun. So you actually start out in 1 bay with your shotgun.
I saw the video.
Run past the pistol bay to get your rifle, pick that up and shoot, and then now you've got a couple options on paper targets once you're done with your rifle. I chose obviously to go rifle heavy, and then dump that little guy, pick up your pistol, and then finish out the pistol bay. And it's almost like, Cody, would you describe that like a palm tree hanging down kind of design of the bays? How would you describe that bay?
Yeah, absolutely. The center bay was kind of a L-shaped triangular bay on the left for the rifle, and then just a regular square bay all the way over on the right for the shotgun. And I think I'd done the same thing as you on the rifle. I went rifle heavy on it, but I don't remember taking a breath the entire time I had the rifle in my hands. So I was kind of relieved to dump it and get the pistol. I felt like I could take a few breaths after that.
Nice. Yeah, for me, I made a conscious effort, like, okay, big deep breaths as soon as you dump that shotgun and you're running for the rifle. But once I picked up the rifle, there's, I want to say like 4 or 5 static rifle targets that you had to shoot right there, BC zones. And so I did the, and by the time that 5th one came around, I was like, miss. Like, oh, I should breathe now.
Take a breath, Dave.
Yep. Yeah, I need that help sometime. Well,
yeah,
Cody,
it seemed a whole lot easier the next day when I was ROing it. I could breathe the entire time.
Yeah, no pressure. All right, well, Cody, let's take it back here, man. Let's talk about your history with the competitive shooting sports, man. When we first met, I think you were an RO. I want to say we met in like South Carolina at a 3-Gun Nation match.
Yeah, that sounds about right. South Carolina, Texas, those were some of my first major 3-Gun Nation matches to RO.
Yeah. All right. So let's take it back a little bit before that. What do you do when you're not shooting? Who's Cody when he's not on the range?
Well, I'm a father. Got 3 kids and a wife here at home that hopefully they don't interrupt the podcast tonight. But I'm a machinist in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Recently just took a new job over there, so hopefully all that goes well. But shooting, machining, being a dad, that's really about all I have time for. I've recently started running my own match director for some UML and run and gun coming up. And that's about all I have time for, man.
Well, sounds like a lot, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, when did you get into competitive shooting, and what made you seek that out?
Well, I had been shooting guns on a square range for a little while, and I don't know, somewhere around 2011 or 12 is actually when I got my first AR, and
hey, me too.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are recent converts, but I just, like I said, shooting on a square range, plinking around, it was starting to get kind of boring, and I had just heard about a match that was actually going on in my hometown, and somehow I hadn't learned about it before, but it was a run and gun match, the Pawnee Run and Gun in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
and
I've heard of that too.
Yeah, I want to say that's probably the first one. No, I guess that'd be the second one I heard about.
Pecos is one of the longest running. They've been running for quite a while, like 16 years or something like that. Don't hold me to the number.
I heard about, yeah.
Yeah. Pawnee's kind of they copied that same principle and brought it back to Oklahoma. And I believe they started them in 2013. I heard about it sometime early summer 2014, and I was like, man, this sounds like a lot of fun. I'm not much of a runner, but I like to shoot, and I'm going to go try this. And I knew the landowners. It's private land that it's held on. I knew the landowners a little bit, and I went out to the match without really knowing anyone. I'd signed up for it, paid for my ticket ahead of time, showed up not knowing very much about what I was doing, just knew I needed to carry a rifle and a pistol and a bunch of ammo, since it was my first time. Turned out not to need quite as much, but you always go in with a lot more than what you intend to use. But I ran the 5K at the Pawnee Run and Gun. They have the option of the 5K and the 10K every year. Recently, they've started doing 20K, which is running the 10K, 2 of them back to back with about 15 minutes in between to top off your Camelback and magazines and head back out again.
Gee whiz.
Huh.
But my first few years, they do a summer and a winter. January is the winter run and gun. July is the summer run and gun, generally right about the same time every year. After my first one, I was hooked. I wanted to improve. I wasn't really gaming it yet. I was working more on whether my equipment would make it, whether I could actually make it 5K to begin with. But it worked out. I was exhausted after 5K and started working on my physical fitness after that. And I don't remember exactly when, somewhere probably around summer 2016, I moved on up to the 10K, and then last winter, I believe it was, I tried the 20K. And I say tried because I only made it 10K. At the end of the 10K, I was having some problems with my knee, and I knew there was no way I was going to make it around again and still be able to go to work that next week. So I kind of wussed out on the full 20K. That, by the way, is called the Full Retard Challenge. And if you're doing it in the summer, it's called that for a reason. There's a lot of dehydration problems on the 10K or even the 5K alone, more or less the 20K.
Wow.
I bet, especially in the summer.
Yeah, no kidding.
But somewhere along the way there, I think is probably around the next summer from when I first started, around summer 2015, I decided that I was running a couple of different running guns here in Oklahoma, participating in them, and decided that this just wasn't enough shooting for me. You know, a lot of times if you shot the match perfect, you could shoot it on one PMag 40 and a couple of pistol mags. Not a high round count. It's a lot more difficult shots and offhand shooting off of through barricades. But decided I wanted a little bit more shooting and started looking into 3-gun, and finally got into 3-gun, and that definitely helped my shooting in the run and guns a lot. I noticed a big improvement on that, and then kept improving my physical fitness, and actually the run and gun kind of helped inspire me to get in a little bit better shape, and somewhere over the course of that I lost about 40 pounds along the way and got into a lot better shape, and my 3-gun and run and gun times have improved because of it.
Well, good.
Yeah, I gotta say, from my perspective, only seeing you every couple months at matches, like it's a marked. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very noticeable how much weight you've dropped and the better condition that you're in.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
it's always good to get some feedback.
Yep.
Yeah, good for you, dude. So when you started shooting run and gun, so this was like a way to get out of the I guess the square range and punching holes in paper, stuff like that.
Yeah, I wanted to do some other stuff, test out my equipment to see if it would survive a, shit hits the fan situation or something. Yeah, that's how a lot of the running guns are built, and it is a very good test of that, and a test of your gear and yourself in more like real world scenarios, because we are running through the woods, rough terrain, a lot of hills. We're crossing creeks where we actually have to wade through the water, waist deep water in the middle of a 10K. So you've got to learn how to manage water in your shoes and stuff like that.
Nice.
But as with anything, I kept doing it and started gaming it a little bit more, and now it's running shoes and high speed gear.
Huh.
Yeah. So I actually got to do a run and gun last year, the We Defy run and gun at the Triple C range in Texas, and that is primarily a 3-gun and PRS range, and that was their first run and gun, right? So there were some people that are traditional run and gunners that came and ran it, and then there was like all the 3-gunners that came and ran it. And I want to say that I don't really recall like who won or anything, but I want to say that the distribution was about equal. There was about 50-50 newbies, which I would consider myself a newbie, and 50% of the traditional. And there was a good mix of people that are running it in like full BDUs with, plate carriers and shit like that. And then there's dudes that are running it in like running shorts with, running shoes. And I even saw a dude that didn't have a handguard on his rifle. Like he was trying to make it as light as possible, is my assumption on that.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. It was really weird to see that, because that just seems like a really bad idea to me. But
it's not the place to lose weight.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
But anyway, so I noticed that there is quite a big difference between 3-gunners and running gunners. And I noticed this in just like looking at people's gear. And then I also noticed this when we were sitting under the pavilion and talking afterwards. Doesn't seem like running gunners really like 3-gunners too much, Cody. Do you notice that as well?
Well, yeah, that's been a topic. A lot of the dedicated run and gun folks see run and gun as truly training and only training, and not a game. In my opinion, anytime you put a clock on it and we start handing out awards or trophies at the end, it's a game.
It's a game. Yeah.
You can use that game just as in 3-gun. You can use that game as training if you wish. You use it however you want to. If you don't care about your runtime, you don't care about your shooting scores, you just want to test yourself against the elements, absolutely, go do it. That's how I started. All I wanted to do whenever I first started was finish. I didn't care what my times were. I just wanted to complete every stage and finish the run. And there's a lot of people that still do it that way. But I'm not one for frowning on anybody for however they want to use the running gun. If they want to use it for training, go ahead. If you want to game it like I do now, and it's just a fun game for you to play, just like 3-gun, have at it. That's what I do.
Yeah, for me, when I started shooting 3-gun, it was the, what am I going to do when shit hits the fan kind of thing, right? Yeah. So I had my pump shotgun out there. I had my Glock 17, which was my carry gun at the time, and my my AR-15 that I built, my M4 style. But I found a little bit of a competitive streak in me that I didn't know existed, and then I like you, Cody, tried to keep it that way for a while, and then kind of straight into the gaming part of it.
Yeah. And
I found that I really enjoy the sport for what it is, and as a gamer aspect of it. And I was kind of laughing at the running gun that I ran when I was talking to a lot of the folks that still look at it as the true test of a man and his equipment, because it reminds me of the stories I've heard from early 3-gun, like back in the 80s when it started. Like that's how it started, right? Soldier of Fortune.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it just for me, it just kind of made me chuckle a little bit, because I've gone so far to the game side of it that, when someone we're there for obviously different reasons, right? I'm there for exercise and to shoot a bunch of steel, and they're there to make sure that when the shit hits the fan and the Russians do invade, they still can complete a 5K with all the ammunition that they can carry.
I do still use it as a test a lot of times for new equipment. If I'm wanting to try out something new, it's a great way to test a rifle sling. You can definitely tell if that's going to hold up.
Oh yeah,
I bet.
It's not the best way to test a lot of your 3-gun gear. That stuff moves too much when you're running longer distances. But it seems like the last 3 running guns I went to, I have taken a completely new rifle that I built that I want to go out and test it and see if it's going to run. I mean, I know that's kind of dangerous, taking a fairly new rifle into a competition, or not dangerous, but risky as far as whether it's going to go down on you or not. So far, I've had good luck. I guess I built good rifles. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
I do still use it as a test, but anywhere I can game it within the rules, I'm going for it.
Nice.
What scope do you run, Cody?
The last scope I run at Run and Gun was Vortex Strike Eagle 1-8.
Okay. So you do run down around 1 power sometimes, or targets are that close, or?
Well, at the Pawnee Run and Gun, there's always one stage. It's a 500-yard shot. It's the rifleman's quarter mile, and sometimes it is just 2 hits on the target. They change it up from time to time, or sometimes you have a 300-yard target out there as well that you got to get a couple hits on. But you have a limited amount of time, normally 1 to 2 minutes, and sometimes you have a limited number of rounds that you can spend at that target. Last time it was 2 hits, I believe, on a 500-yard target in 1 or 2 minutes. I should have that somewhere, but I don't. But you could only shoot 8 rounds. So you had to get your 2 hits in 8 rounds. And that really thins out the field.
Yeah, that almost sounds really, like a precision style scoring method, right?
It is. Project Appleseed. I don't know whether you're familiar with that. Teaches fundamentals of rifle marksmanship. One of the organizers of Pawnee Run and Gun teaches the Project Appleseed classes, and
cool.
That's a stage that's kind of reflects that. They want the marksmanship aspect in there, and we're lucky enough on the properties that we run on to have an area that we can shoot out to at least 500 yards, probably a little further, but 500 yards is a reoccurring stage in the Pawnee Run and Gun every year.
How many targets do you have usually per stage?
On that one, it's 1 to 2. Some of the stages we have as many as about 8. And most of the stages are in the woods. this range only recently got bays. They got 2 bays that they built the end of last summer, so we were able to use it this winter, and we'll be using it again this summer. But in the bays, we can do a little bit more. We can set plate racks up, but everything has to be quick reset, which paper is not very friendly for run and gun, because your ROs have to do all of the resetting. You don't. Your competitors obviously are back on the trail and running after they shoot the stage, so they're not going to hang around and help reset. Unless you make it mandatory, some kind of creative thing where they're setting poppers back up after they shoot them down on the clock. I've seen that at some run and guns, which is interesting.
Yeah.
We were talking about doing a stage where, you shoot down the poppers and you go, and then, when you arrive at the stage, you have to set up your own poppers for you to shoot down.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because then that would be
fair.
on the clock, right?
Yeah, I could definitely think of some interesting stage designs where you were doing something like that. Yeah.
Cool. How many stages are you typically doing over a 5K?
In the 5K, generally about 5. You're doing one about every kilometer, but depending at Pawnee, the property is actually 2 pieces of property, a little over 300 acres for each piece of property, and they're separated by 1 mile of county road. So we are actually running with our rifles slung and all of our gear on down the county road that's still open.
Oh, nice.
So occasionally we'll have some of the neighbors come by, but everybody's it's been going on a few years. Everybody's kind of accustomed to it, know what's going on. Some of the county deputies come out to help. They sit at the ends of the road with the lights on, kind of slow people down so that it's not a danger to the competitors.
Right. So you don't get creamed.
Yeah. And then
That's good.
On the 10K, there's generally a couple bonus stages for the people who are running 10K, so that you're rewarded with a little more shooting. They're not anything special on the stages most of the time, just a couple extra stages that the 5K guys don't get to see.
Well, we in talking about doing this, now you're talking to a couple of 3-gunners. I've run one running gun, and we just thought this would be something fun to do. So we're kind of pick your brain along the way, but
absolutely,
we're kind of curious as to why there's not a ton of shooting. It seems to be more running based than gunning based. Is there a particular reason for that?
I can't tell you exactly why. My next run and gun that I am actually hosting will have a little more shooting. They're probably if you shoot the match perfect, there'll be about 100 rounds fired, about 60 pistol and 40 rifle. I'd like to bump the numbers up more, but reset and being able to get shooters through the stages quickly becomes an issue. I'll have par times of 60 seconds, no more than 60 seconds. I want shooter-to-shooter times of under 3 minutes, because when you have 90 to 100 competitors to get through in the hours that you have of daylight, or in the case of my next run and gun, which would be a night match, the hours that you have of dark, you have to release your competitors every 3, 5, 7 minutes, whatever you figure by looking at your stage designs and how far apart your stages are. You have to release them at a time interval so that they don't back up. You don't want 8 people waiting in line at a stage on one person to shoot, and people running wait times of 20 or 30 minutes that they're just sitting there. They came for a running event. Let's keep them running if we possibly can.
Yeah. Well, so that's interesting that you bring that up. So for, our audience is primarily 3-gunners. So, and most of them probably have not shot a running gun before. So describe what a wait time is.
All right. When you're released by the match staff, you'll be released at a certain time that's recorded, and you'll take off running down the trail, normally a very well marked trail, and you'll go whatever the distance is. You go a third of a mile generally. You go about a third of a mile, you get to your first stage, and let's say the two people that were released in front of you were a little bit slower runners, and one of them is still shooting the stage when you get there, and one of them is waiting in line to shoot the stage. Whenever you show up there, the ROs are just going to make sure that you have a clear rifle, and they're going to tell you to start your wait time. You're going to be carrying a stopwatch with you. Some people use their phone. Some people use their wristwatch, whatever you have to keep your own wait time. Kind of use the honor system on that because you can't have ROs with 5 stopwatches running trying to keep track of everybody's wait time. But you'll start your wait time, and while you're on the wait time, there generally at most matches is no messing with your gear. You are on the match's time. You are not on your own time. You are just waiting in line. If you want to reload mags, if you want to mess with your gear somehow, rearrange things, you do that before you start your wait time or after you've shot the stage.
Interesting. I would have totally tried to game that one.
Now, I mean, you can take a drink. Some people, if it's a few minutes wait time, some people will sit down. I guess some matches may be a little more strict on that kind of thing, but generally that stuff's forgiven. It's just no reloading mags, no rearranging all of your gear, and no fiddling with stuff. But whenever it's your turn to shoot, the RO will call you up, ask for your wait time. You'll give them your wait time. They write that on a scorecard. That I'm working on a way to do that in practice score, but currently everyone is keeping the scorecard. All the competitors keep the scorecard with them, and you're responsible for hanging on to that card that has your wait time. And a lot of matches write your stage time on that as well. If you lose it, that sucks because you don't get scored for the match. But so after you've given given the RO your wait time, they'll give you a real quick stage brief. Generally, it's just a couple of sentences. The stages are quick and easy so that you're able to get through them. Quick and easy to understand, I should say, so that you're able to get through them fairly quickly and get on the trail again. But after that, they give you the beep, you shoot, they write down your time, and you move on.
What kind of targets are you using for pistol, Cody?
It's generally all static steel. Plate racks are really nice because pull the rope, reset. You need something that you can run 2 to 3 ROs on a stage, and you can keep an eye on the competitors, kind of keep the cats herded. Someone to run the clock and someone to help reset.
It's a lot of ROs.
Yeah. So you're running just like steel challenge type targets usually?
Generally, we have a lot of 6, 8, 10-inch plates. I'll be putting some different steel challenge targets into my match so that we're going to have some bigger stuff that's out a little bit further.
Yeah. So you just call the hits and.
Yeah, a lot of them are close enough, especially on pistol, that you don't even need to call hits. People are moving fast enough on that you can definitely see the hits and hear them.
Well, so Cody, you were talking about practice score there and about the scorecards you send with the shooter. What is to prevent someone from writing down their own wait time?
The ROs are going to put there are spots on the card specifically for each stage for the wait time and for the shoot time. The ROs are going to write the time in there. If you show up to a stage and you already have a time in there, obviously somebody has screwed up or something nefarious is going on. If at the end they see something that looks like it was changed at the score table, whenever you hand your card in at the end, if they see something that was changed and they can see that it was changed a lot or the handwriting looks suspicious, they're going to start to question ROs. But a lot of it's the honor system. And as with 3-gun, most of the guys are pretty honest about that kind of thing. I don't think I've ever heard of a cheating incident yet, and hopefully I don't. I can imagine if someone did get caught cheating, they would be, they would kind of be shunned, cast out of the run and gun community.
Don't show up here again.
Yeah, then they'd have to go shoot 3-gun.
I'll catch him there.
Yeah. All right. So we want to ask about best practices and how to avoid those wait times. Mike and I kind of had an idea. Or I guess maybe I came up with this on, I don't know. But based on one of the running guns that I saw, I thought that instead of just scrambling by alphabet of when you release people, you could do it like I've seen done in this race that we had, this real famous race we have in Colorado called the Boulder. And basically you have to submit a 5K time or a 10K time to the race, and it's got to be something that's validated by International Street Racers Association or whatever the hell it's called. And basically like saying that you can run this pace, and then that way they avoid backups. They avoid getting like, me running in front of Mike and running real slow, and then Mike's got to run over me trying to get around me. So what do you think about having your runners submit their projected 5K time when they register?
I really like the sound of it. I've kicked around the idea of how to do that myself, but I don't know. I guess I've just never implemented it. I really like it. I think I'm going to have to look a little bit more into that.
Well, you're welcome.
Obviously, a lot of the running gun community, they're not necessarily runners.
Sure.
Got a lot more dedicated runners coming into the competitions, but a lot of the people, that is their only match or a couple matches a year, and their only running that they do, besides only competitive running that they do. So a lot of them don't really know their 5K time. And I could also tell you, a 5K time out on a paved trail or the street is going to be about twice as fast as what it's going to be at the kind of running guns that we see here in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, when I was
especially carrying the gear, but a lot of the trail that we're running through, you cannot run through. It is hiking.
Yeah.
I do get by, and a lot of people get by with the lower cut running shoes, but they're a trail running shoe. They're not. They got a little bit of tread on them because, like I said, we're crossing creeks.
I found that when I was doing obstacle racing too, when I would just go to like a normal street 5K, I'd do that, and I want to say my PR was like 28 minutes or something like that. And then we get done with a Spartan race that was, a 5-ish K. There was always, it was always like 4 miles, but it's like, how the hell did that take us 2 hours?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is different. But my thought on the guy's like, well, I don't know what it's going to take because I don't do I don't do any running or anything. It's like, cool, you get dropped in the back, like out now would just backfill from there. But from the guy who is going to say, yeah, so my unladen 5K time is 31 minutes. I'll be like, all right. And then other guys like, mine is 32 minutes. Cool. You're behind 31-minute guy, like that. You run the very fastest guy first, and then all the people that don't know, we kind of put you in the back of the pack, and hopefully you can, I don't know, maybe I'll judge you when I look at you or something like that. I don't know. I haven't really quite figured this out, but we experienced a significant amount of backups in the one race that I ran. And I see a lot of value in trying to mitigate that. And from my perspective of running a bunch of obstacle races, when you'd get to like a rope climb and there's 8 ropes and there's a line, it's like, okay, this sucks.
I can tell you another thing to cutting down on the times is you need to proof your stages very well.
How do you do that?
You need to use things that like if you do have a plate rack, you need to have extra parts there on the stage, all the tools there on the stage. At a 3-gun event, if we have a prop or a target go down, we call someone over, call the quartermaster over, and maybe it takes 15, 20 minutes to get back up and going. That's not a huge delay in a 3-gun match. In a running gun, that is huge. Now
it's going to destroy the entire match.
You're going to have an hour and a half wait time by the time you filter through all of the people that have stacked up waiting on you to get the target fixed. So if you do have any kind of active targets or props or anything, you need to have backups there ready to go. We've actually experienced that before, and luckily when a plate rack went down, we had another plate rack. We just moved that one out, moved the next one in, and got up and going pretty quick. But I really like using a lot of static steel, and then having extra steel and however we use to hang it. If we've got H bases and 2x4s, extra 2x4s there, extra hangers, extra of everything on every stage, and ROs that know how to fix it themselves, because you don't have time to radio and have somebody come from 10 minutes away to come over and fix it. You need to be able to fix it and get up and going yourself quickly. Another thing is paint. In the middle of a match like this, you don't really have time to paint. I actually done a little test run, and I'm going to be experimenting with it. What I'm going to be using is black targets with white coroplast backers behind the targets. You see the orange or white coroplast behind a lot of the targets in 3-gun at long range, so that you can actually see the target. Using the black target with the white behind it, the contrast makes it stand out. It's black. It's going to stay black the entire match, no matter how many people shoot it. Never have to paint. Everybody gets the same target presentation.
I like that. Yeah, it seems like you'd want to lean on static targets instead of...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when we talking about a stage, obviously it's not as elaborate as what we do in 3-gun, but are you basically talking about like a steel challenge stage where there's like one box and 5 targets in front of you?
Occasionally you'll have those, but I like the stage to be a little bit more dynamic with some movement. I'd consider it more like a jungle run with 6 to 8 targets along the way. I'm trying to up that number. I'm hoping to have 12 to 15 targets along the way for the next match. I've got 80 some odd pieces of static steel and more on the way for my next match. And that's a lot of steel to have out there, but static's just it's really about the only way to go to keep the match moving along. But I do like a stage where you may start in one box and shoot a few targets from that box, but as you move through the woods or along the trail or along a designated shooting area, sometimes they're hidden by walls, sometimes they're hidden by barrels, sometimes they're hidden by trees, but you have targets to pick out along the way. And then generally I like clear transition points whenever you're going from pistol to rifle.
So you do 2-gun stages then?
Oh, absolutely. Generally, we start with pistol so that you can holster, and nearly all the matches do have hot holstering. Some do not have hot holstering, and we're kind of experimenting with some stage designs to be able to clear the gun on the clock and reholster a unloaded pistol so that you can transition to your rifle without having to dump stuff in dump buckets or barrels. A lot of running gun guys are real hesitant to get rid of their gear.
Yeah.
Don't know if you've seen that or heard some of that.
I've seen some comments on the run and gun group on Facebook, and they're like, as long as you don't put a fucking dump barrel in there, I'm fine. I'm like, all right, buddy.
And I do want to eliminate dump barrels and buckets, but my reason as a match director is a little bit different.
Then you don't have to clear them.
It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time for them to come back and retrieve that. If they have it on their person at the end of it, I can clear everything, get their time recorded, and send them on their way and move on to the next shooter. So kind of experimenting. I'll probably end up with at least one stage that I try it on. We're going to have a area where you shoot a certain number of targets with your pistol. You have a clear area where you're moving on to one last pistol target. It may be several steps to get to it. Gives the RO time to tell the competitor to drop their mag. And we're going to have them drop their mag, and they'll have one round in the chamber at that point, and they engage one final target, clearing that round out of the chamber. Then they can reholster a weapon that is not hot and transition to their rifle, which is unloaded and slung.
Did you hear about that on the 3-Gun Show?
I may have.
So, Bruce Davidson that runs the Rock Hard, he does that, and he calls them high-value targets. So you get one round on that target. If you hit it, obviously it's neutralized. If you don't, it's a stiff penalty for that one specific target. I want to say it's like a 30-second penalty or something.
Wow.
But they are the ones that he had this year were Gunfighter Targets pizza boxes. And it's basically, imagine like a 3-Gun Nation target, right? Square with a 6-inch circle, I think it is, or 8-inch circle. 8-inch circle, right?
I believe they're 8s.
I believe they're 8. Okay. So square with an 8-inch circle. So the square is static. The 8-inch circle is behind the static square. And then it's like a swinger target. And then it, auto resets. So if you hit that target and it indicates, good on you. But if you hit the area around it or you miss it entirely, 30-second penalty. But yeah, that is something Bruce has talked about on the show before, and it sounds like it ate a ton of people's lunch at the Rock Hard match, so it might be quite a fun target.
I've just got to decide whether I'm going to go that route or go just the easy route, just as a way of clearing the gun. Just one easy target you fire around at. I haven't decided on that, but
make it hard.
60-yard pistol shot.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you on that one. I fully support you. Well, so on that topic, then I have a question. So, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that running guns, you have to eliminate every target, or you zero the entire stage. Is that correct?
At a lot of them, that is the way it is scored.
And I'm guessing by the way you answered that question, that's not the way you do it?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Tell me about that.
No, I want to do a time penalty. It'll be a steep time penalty. Mine are just 20 seconds for targets missed. And whenever we're talking about stages with par times under 60 seconds, 20 seconds is a pretty good size penalty for a stage like that. Mm-hmm. And I have to keep it simple because the scoring does have to be done quick. And in the case of my next run and gun, it'll be done in the dark. So I'm going to do one penalty for targets missed, whether it's a 10-yard target or a 60-yard 10-yard pistol target or a 60-yard rifle target. It's all going to be scored the same.
All right. On that same topic, so Mike, I think we pretty much decided that we're going to do time plus penalties, right?
Correct.
Yeah, because I don't like the idea of like zeroing an entire stage. Because Cody, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one thing that I observed is that people would not give up on that last effing target if they couldn't hit it, and they would throw all their ammunition at it, causing a big backup on the stage, as well as not having ammunition for the next stage because they didn't want to zero it.
Yeah, they'll throw all the ammunition they have, all that's allowed, or they'll use all of the time that they have if they can't just call it quits. A lot of people can't swallow that ego can't swallow their ego just enough to take the zero on the stage, but they might be able to if they know that there's a time penalty and that a lot of other people are going to be having the same problem, and it doesn't completely blow your whole match by missing one target on one stage.
It's funny though, because they would cut off their nose to spite their face, right? So they're, instead of zeroing one stage, they're going to zero 6 because they don't have enough ammo to shoot them all.
I have been to matches where people are down on all fours, scraping around near the stage where the rifles or pistols are cleared, looking for just a few more rounds.
That sounds like my one of my stages at Texas 3-Gun. I was like, oh, where'd I drop those shotgun shells?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Or that's not funny at all, actually. Poor guys.
Yeah, there was a guy at the last match who was shooting 40, and he went down to an area where there was actually a stage from a UML match where there was a lot of 9mm laying around, and he come back up with a handful of 9mm, but he was shooting 40. So
Didn't help.
yeah.
Reason number
some more stages.
137 not to shoot 40 caliber.
He now has a 9mm barrel.
Attaboy. You
Yeah.
learned.
So, Cody, how many shooters do you normally have? You set up around 90 sometimes?
90 to 100. In the winter, sometimes get a parrot back to around 75 because it's just the daylight hours.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So
That is,
you do advanced sign up then?
yeah. Sign up ahead of time. I'm using Practice Score. Some people use Eventbrite. I've noticed a lot of the run and gun guys do use Eventbrite for signups. But
That's what a lot of runs are on. So maybe that's the culture there.
yeah, I think that's where a lot of that comes from.
And then you said you're releasing them every, 3 and 5 minutes, depending?
Yeah, it's been 5 minutes lately, and that seems to be working a little bit better. But that's all dependent on your stage and on your course, on your stages and on your course rather. You really need to do some trial runs and testing yourself beforehand to know exactly how far apart you do need to release your runners, and that's one of the things you have to look into. If you know you've sold 100 spots and you have so many minutes in a day, you need to design your stages accordingly and space them out accordingly so that you can release your shooters at a time that you can get everybody out and get everybody back in before the sun goes down.
Yeah. Now, have you done any obstacles in your races?
There's a few, not a ton at Oklahoma, at the Pawnee Run and Gun in Oklahoma. Do barbed wire crawls, just about 8-foot sections of barbed wire, about a foot and a half off the ground. The people that like to bring a lot of gear with them in a backpack and 3-day pack and full medical kit and everything else, they struggle with getting under the barbed wire. They have to take a lot of that off and drag it behind them. But barbed wire crawls, go over some barrels. Seen tires used as an obstacle, just an area where you have tires, you just can't run through it. You got to be careful getting through. Got to watch for snakes in Oklahoma, though, if you put a bunch of tires out.
Yeah.
Generally, we
That's
use
just another
terrain.
Obstacle.
Yeah, absolutely. More
Bonus.
reason to have that full trauma kit, right? But generally, we use the terrain as an obstacle. We'll find a lot of the roughest areas in the terrain and cut trail through it. And I mean, it's narrow trail that you will not be running through. Sometimes you're crawling through to
Can we
get
do that,
through
Mike?
some of it.
Can we go like mow a path in the tall grass out there?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have like these really nice roads that the most treacherous part of the terrain is like the incline, and then maybe some washboard. But our range has several areas that are fairly spread out. So without really even trying, we could do a 5K if we just incorporate all that different ranges that we have on the range as a total. But I'm talking Mike and doing like up and over berms and stuff like that. So we can add a little bit of physicality into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We want to do like monkey bars and a rope climb and stuff like that.
On the
go ahead.
Go ahead, Cody.
I get pretty creative with the welder and pipe, and I tend to start making things. So I foresee some of those things coming to my matches soon.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, because we're talking about on the obstacles doing the same thing. You know, you've got 60 seconds to do this obstacle. If you can't do it, then you take the penalty. And
the kind of the thing that Mike and I were talking about is like, well, if you just run past that obstacle, then then obviously you're gonna have a better run time because your obstacles are going to be part of your run time. And so the way we figured it is, my pal Wade ran this race. It was like the obstacle race world championship in Ohio, and they gave you a wristband, and we figure for us we'll do 3, and you have to finish with a wristband to be part of the awards / prize table if there is one or whatever. But so like 3 strikes you're out. But if you can't complete an obstacle, we cut one of your wristbands off, and we also give you a 60-second penalty. Like basically you got to stand there for 60 seconds, or maybe we just add it to. I guess it would make more sense to add it in practice score, but
yeah.
What I've looked at doing for something like that, if I do have an obstacle that may be difficult for some people to get over, I've looked at some wall climbs and other things like the monkey bars, and if people couldn't do it or don't want to even try it, because we do have so much land to work with, I was considering putting an RO there just to enforce it, but send the competitors who don't want to go over the obstacle, send them down another course. They may just go down 100, 150 yards, go around the pole, and come straight back up to where the obstacle is, and then continue on the course. You actually make them run a little bit and give them the penalty of the time that it takes them to get there and back.
that's not bad. You know, in Spartan races, they give you like a burpee penalty, so it's as fast as you can complete it, but then you're freaking worn out for the next obstacle.
Yeah.
We were thinking about that, but one of the reasons that I guess we came up with the bracelet thing, Mike, if you remember this, is that there are some guys that are going to hike this thing, and they're not the running type, and they're maybe not spring chickens, I guess you would say. So we don't want to kill them, but we do want to make it fair for the competitors that are going out there and doing the obstacles and doing the running.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on that topic, we were kind of tossing around the idea. We've been tossing around this idea for a couple months now of just doing one total time on the entire match, where you start off and like as long as it takes you to run, as long as it takes you to do the obstacles, as long as it takes you to shoot, totally, and obviously time plus on the shooting part of it, but you just get one total time for the entire thing, and
start time and a finish time.
Start time and a finish time. And the more, I mean, I like the simplicity of it from the guy who's going to be doing the scores part of it, but the more I think about it, like that makes it a running only match rather than a running and gunning. And I see like I see a lot of value in the 50-50 stage time / run time. But my concern is that I can't use practice score for this, that I'm going to have to make a spreadsheet, or I'm going to have to get Brando to make a spreadsheet or something like that. What are your thoughts on that? Has anyone ever tried to do like a one total time match?
Where you're not taking out any wait times, you're not taking out the stage times from the run?
Yes.
Pawnee Run and Gun does a total time, but they take out the wait times. And I have heard of some matches that do not take out the wait times, but they've been pretty good about keeping the wait time down. I hesitate to eliminate the wait times, because if I do have a problem, and it is a problem of mine, I've had something on the stage fail, everybody's really going to hate me who had to stand there and wait. And they ended up placing a lot further back than what they should have because of it. Like I'd mentioned earlier, I'm working on a way to actually input the wait times into practice score.
Mm-hmm. Like, are you working with practice score, or are you going to figure a...
No, I actually had one of my fellow ROs down at the Texas 3-gun championship give me an idea for that, and I have yet to try it to see if it's going to work. I actually have about 6 tablets here that hopefully after the podcast tonight I'll be able to sit down and do a trial run just in the living room here of how that would work.
Oh, nice.
But I'll just have to let you know.
Okay.
So one total time, probably not the best way to do it. Like you see more value in doing a 50-50 run and gun time?
I do. I don't know. Maybe I'm just hesitant to deviate too far from what I know. I'd have to think about it.
I see a ton of value in it just for the simplicity, but then when I think about it, if it takes you just to run the course, and just for round number 6, say it takes you 60 minutes to run the course, and say we have, how many stages are we talking, Mike? 7?
7 to 8. Yep.
7 to 8, and so we have 60-second times for each of those stages, right? So that's 8 minutes of shooting and 60 minutes of running. Then that's just a running match.
Yeah,
right?
I could come up to each stage, fly through the stage, not worry too much about my penalties, because if I get a couple minutes of penalties per stage, it's not that far off of my time.
Right. And then
Right.
I was thinking of like how I would game that, and basically I would come up and take, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shots and unload, show, clear, and run. And Mike's like, well, if I'm going to give you a failure to do right of 30 minutes. And I was like, well, you win this one, sir.
Failure to do right.
Yeah. Oh, no, you gave me an unsportsmanlike. That's what it was.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
Unsportsmanlike.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's kind of what we're going over, but the more I talk about it out loud, the more I think like the 50-50 is the way to go, because then it becomes like a shooting match that you had to run to each stage. So now you're tired.
Yeah.
The other benefit of that is you can crown like a running champion and a shooting champion. Like maybe, Jim Bob over here shot the shit out of the match, but he can't run to save his life, and vice versa,
Yeah, absolutely. Especially whenever I was first getting into running gun, I wouldn't even pay attention to my run time. I'd just look at my shoot score and be like, yeah, look at this. I outshot all of those guys.
That's the way I was when I ran the running gun.
Yeah,
like, these guys
I'm down
suck.
Here,
but
third from last in my run score. But a good shoot score will carry you through quite a ways on the running, but you got to be able to run a little bit and shoot really well to win.
Mm-hmm.
I've looked more at the 2/3, 1/3 on the shooting versus running, and even the 3/4 to 1/4 shooting versus running. How much I want the run score to count toward the overall. Whether I want to make it a running match with a little bit of or a running event with a little bit of shooting along the way, or whether I want it to be a shooting match with a little bit of running along the way.
Yeah. There was I forgot what the name of it was, but there was a Vortex Optics match a while back that was kind of the same way, but I want to say they did like a 90-10. It was like 90% running and 10% shooting or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But, and that's just like me from memory, not even being at the match or anything, but I don't know. How do you feel, Mike? Like, I honestly think like if we're going to do this as a run and gun, it would be, it would make sense to do it like half is your run and half is your gun, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much traditional.
Just my problem, Cody, comes when you got to score it, because the way I've seen it done, and maybe there's something new now, is like you literally punch a dude's start time in Excel, and then or on a notebook, and then when he stops running, you write that down, and then you got to do a bunch of math. Like I've become enamored and fully ingrained into the way that practice score works.
Makes it so easy.
It does.
Well, my original plan was to use a spreadsheet to determine my run score with the start time and end time, and add in all of the wait times and come up with a number, the time that you were actually running on the course, and input that in as a sixth stage or a final stage into practice score with points assigned, and assign points to each stage, and then weight the points of the running stage accordingly to whatever percentage of the match that I wanted that to count toward. But hopefully this new idea works out and I can avoid the spreadsheet altogether.
Are you planning on doing it like subtracting the bonuses? Is that what you're going to do as a bonus to take the wait time off?
No, actually. What the idea was that I was given, and again, I have not messed around with this yet, so I have no idea what's going to happen. But
well, Cody, before you do that, just to save you a little bit here, this won't come out for a couple weeks, so you can let me know how it works, and I can add a little something on the end of the the podcast here to save your skin.
Okay, great. The idea is within Practice Score to make each shooter their own squad, and when they show up to the stage, to have a separate tablet that they check into at the stage. It has their check-in time, and then whenever you input their score for the stage, their time for the stage, that will also have a time. And I should be able to reconcile that, which that is the big question mark of how I can reconcile all that into their wait time.
Interesting. So Practice Score keeps a record of that in their match statistics. Is that what the deal is?
I believe so.
Whoa.
I was told by someone who knows quite a bit more about the technology than I do.
Okay.
Interesting. Have you thought about just emailing info@practicescore.com and seeing if they can put a module in there for you?
Yeah, absolutely, I have, but I'm trying to eliminate the hassle of giving them the hassle of messing with me. But yeah, if this works, then great. If not, that's my next step.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, as popular as it's getting, I'm sure they'd look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may need to look at that, because that would definitely be better than each squad, which is each shooter checking in, because that requires 2 tablets at each stage. Then 2 tablets for ROs to keep track of, keep separated.
Double the cost of tablets.
Yeah, and I mean, the biggest thing at running guns is eliminate any hassle, eliminate any extra time that you possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could figure that out by like October 13th, that'd be great.
Hopefully I have something figured out by next month at my next running gun.
Yeah. Yeah, for someone who's run them as regularly as you are, I could see how that would provide a lot of value to you.
Yeah.
Now, Cody, your next match is a night match?
Yes, Twilight Run and Gun, Pawnee,
Sweet.
Oklahoma.
Cool. Now,
Yeah,
when's your next match after that?
I actually haven't set a date for the next one after that, because we are trying to decide whether we're going to do more night matches or whether we're going to change things up with a higher round count regular day matches. I'm always looking to innovate and change it just a little bit, see if people like it or not. Always looking for input.
So why a night match?
I don't know that anyone has done a night run and gun. I could be wrong. There's a whole lot of run and gun matches down in Texas. Somebody may have already done it down there.
I guarantee people have done that just for fun down in Texas.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's just a regular night in Texas, right?
Yeah.
So how do you plan to keep track of your runners?
Chem lights on the runners and a very well marked trail.
Okay.
Each runner will have a chem light front and rear attached to their belt. They'll have a couple of extra for emergencies, or if there's an injury or something, we'll have some red ones that they have a way of displaying. We'll also have rover ROs that are just rovers that are running around the course, just kind of keeping an eye on things. We'll have some of those guys out with night vision and thermal, so that we are able to watch everyone on the course. And again, a very well marked course. I've got some small LED lights that I will probably have around 400 of them on a 1.6 mile course. To get the entire 5K, we're going to make 2 laps around the course. By shortening the course up, I'm able to mark it very well, so that it's difficult to go the wrong direction. And of course, we'll banner off and fence off all of the impact zones, so that no one can accidentally stray into one of those areas.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, so it's what hopefully some of my guys out there with night vision and thermal can keep them on course if somebody gets lost.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that sounds like fun.
I hope so.
You have to let us know how that turns out.
It's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, when the run and gun is actually going off, like there's people on the course, and you've got 3 ROs on each stage, what are you doing?
Putting out fires.
Okay.
Monitoring the radio. Everybody's always got a question. There's whether it's competitors, whether it's people back at the base with scoring issues, whether it's targets going down. You're running around constantly to make sure everything stays on time, on track, that all of your shooters stay healthy, especially in the summer. It's not uncommon for an ambulance to have to come out over someone dehydrated. ROs very commonly have to tell a competitor whenever they show up they just need to sit down. That you'll see people that they look drunk. They're dehydrated to the point that their speech is slurred, that they're stumbling around. We really try to talk those people into stopping right then. But we can't let them shoot under those conditions. So, you've got to go tend to medical problems here and there. But
do you have any EMTs actually there?
Most of the time we do have that on match staff. I know we see it at 3-gun matches all the time. We saw it down in Texas that you have a lot of first responders that end up being ROs, or they are competitors there at the match that help with that. We generally have a plan with the ambulance service in Pawnee. They know where we are. We have, like I said, we have a couple of locations, so we have places to meet them and people to go out on ATVs to guide them back into an area if an ambulance needs to come back to a stage or something.
Okay.
All right. So then, do you have a one point that's the start and stop of the match, like the finish and start line in the same place?
Ideally, that is what you want. At Pawnee Run and Gun, where we have the 5K and the 10K, the end point is the same, but the start point is different.
Oh.
Like I'd mentioned, we have two pieces of property about a mile apart. The 10K starts at the finish line for both. They take off, go down the county road over to the eastern property. They shoot the stages on the eastern property, come back down the county road to the western property, shoot the stages on the western property, and end at the finish line on the western property. The 5K shooters, they start about halfway through the course over on the eastern property. There is a parking area. They can drive themselves over there to that area and start there and catch a shuttle ride back over. We generally have some vehicles or some vehicles with trailers kind of going back and forth to take people back and forth. If you want to, they'll transport you over and you can start over there and end with your vehicle back on the western property.
Now, is it more difficult to score the match when you have two different distances like that and different starting points?
No, not really. You just keep it separate as two separate matches.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, because we're looking at doing a 3K and a 5K.
You need to bump those numbers up. No, I'm kidding. That's a good place to start, probably.
Yeah, for a couple of rookies with some big ambitions, I think we're going to be all right with that.
Well, that and you're doing 3 guns in your match as well too, right? Yeah,
and then Mike's got these wild ideas about stage guns, which are going to be fun too. So, the idea with the shotgun though is, instead of just rattling around with 2 guns on your back, we're going to stage the shotgun at our target barn, our target building. We're going to stage your shotgun and your ammunition there. So you're going to go retrieve your shotgun and your ammo and then go shoot the stage and then put it back and then continue on your run.
Oh, man. That gives me a great idea for a match.
Oh, really? Do tell.
Yeah. You should have an area along the way where you can swap your rifle out for your shotgun. The first half of the match, you shoot rifle and pistol. Second half of the match, shotgun and pistol.
That's actually a great idea. I like that. Yeah,
just thought of that on the fly.
That's a fantastic idea. And so, like, kind of along the lines of what we were thinking, Mike, is if you've got like all those shotguns in the rack, you could replace the, your shotgun with your rifle, and then go shoot. We were planning on 2 shotgun stages.
2 or 3, yeah.
2 or 3 is so the benefit, Cody, there is that we don't need to have berms for birdshot, right? You can be a little bit more lenient there, so you can fit another stage in where you normally wouldn't have a stage. So that's kind of what we were thinking there. But
Yeah.
and then go put that. Well, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but my vision, and I haven't completely talked Mike into this one, is that at the end of the stages that you're going to shoot with your own guns in the 5K, you're going to run back to the starting line, but you're going to shoot a stage with a PCC along the way, right, Mike?
Correct. Yeah, on the way back.
So my thing is like, well, since we're going to be over there at the bays where this this structure is, why don't we just drop all our gear and go slick all the way back to the PCC thing, shoot the PCC thing, and then go up to the finish line. Granted, you'll have to go recover your gear, but I think after running the entire match with all your shit on you, it might be kind of fun just to be like, all right, dead sprint back to the finish line.
Yeah, a little bit of a relief.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Something different. I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out. But
yeah, could work.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
I'm excited. I'm ready.
Are you?
Yep.
All right. So do we have all our questions covered here?
I think so. Everything we got down.
Cody, what do we miss? What are we missing that you can help us with? Is there something that we haven't asked you that you're like, oh, these guys haven't even thought of this yet?
You know, Cody, one thing I just thought of, what are you charging for your running guns?
About $100.
$100.
Generally, they're right around $100 for most of the running gun matches. That includes a meal and a T-shirt.
Okay.
Cool. Do you guys do like trophies and ribbons or anything like that?
Yeah, trophies. A lot of times
medals?
it's something at the Pawnee Running Gun. It's been something pretty unique. A lot of times it's maybe a burned out plate in a shape of a gun, or just different things. It's the trophies generally change whatever the trophies are. Sometimes it's plaques. Something unique every time though.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Back to your topic of stage guns. You say you're going to run a PCC?
Yeah.
That's the plan. That'll be part of the 5K where you run back to the clubhouse, and along the way there's another berm, and we're thinking about to where you actually have to pick up a mag, load the mag.
Yeah.
And then and you'll have something like 12, 14 targets you have to engage. So it's kind of up to you. Do you put 12 rounds in it, or do you put, extra rounds in it?
We've recently had a discussion in the Facebook Run and Gun group about doing something like that, where you do actually have your ammo and your mag and your gun staged separately, or at least the mag and the ammo staged separately, where you have to load it on the clock and shoot. Been curious how that was going to work.
Yeah, I'm normally against that stuff in 3-gun, but if we're doing, if we're going to have all kinds of time out on the range, why not? That's what I say.
Yeah.
But another thing that we have, so we have I guess we kind of talked. Did we talk about the layout of the bays? We did, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so one of the areas, Cody, that we have is a rimfire range. So we're going to put a 1022 out there for people to complete a stage with a 1022 rimfire.
Oh man, you should use the cricket.
Cricket, even better. I like it.
Load one round at a time.
Mike was like, "Hey, do you think we could get a stage gun?" And he's talking about getting like a semi-auto. And I was like, "Well, what if we get a pump?" And then later on, I was looking through, like what's the cheapest shotgun I could find, like locally retail. And man, if we go like over under or side by side, that would be a pain in the butt for a stage gun, and that would be so much fun because hardly anyone would know how to operate it,
or at least how to load it.
I really do like stage guns to be simple. That way, they are easy to operate, and they don't have as many malfunctions. Something like a break action shotgun, a single action, or at least a bolt action rifle that's fairly reliable.
Yeah.
We actually, at one run and gun I went to, had Mosin Nagant was a stage gun, and that is a nightmare.
Yeah.
if you don't know how to run a Mosin, they're nearly impossible, and they're difficult if you don't know how to run that particular Mosin. So I've seen pump shotguns. I've shot those where you load them and shoot them on the clock at fairly easy targets. Shot a 50 cal Barrett at I think it was only 300-yard target, but shot one of those on the clock at a match. So I've seen a few different stage guns and the running guns.
Huh.
Well, and this weekend at the Texas 3-Gun Championship, they had those Ruger American bolt action 22s as well as their SR 22 pistols. And I shot them on the last day, like right before we were all going to awards, and they still ran.
Huh.
I own both of those, and they're very reliable.
Yeah. So the Ruger American, is that a 1022 magazine in that, or is it some sort of other type of magazine?
Nope, 1022 rotary mag.
Yeah. So
or the BX25, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
25
uses the
rounders.
same magazines, only instead of being semi-auto, it's bolt action now. It throws that little extra thing in there, Mike. Oh, I
Yeah.
see the wheels turning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are great little guns too.
Huh.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. It was fun. I hit every piece of steel with it. All right, well, Cody, I think you've answered all our questions here. But again, is there anything that we're missing as far as our thinking that you think we need to consider?
Don't really see anything that I can think of. I'd be careful about the total time match. I'm still not sold on that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Yeah. I'm
I'm gonna need you to fix that practice score problem then.
I'm working on it, Dave.
Yeah, I like the simplicity of the total time match, and the way Mike and I were thinking you could probably do less ROs that way as well, because you're not going to need to, time them. You're just going to need to make sure they shoot it and don't hurt themselves. But I do see a lot of value in splitting it up.
I could see you do that if you have a lot of stages and not a long run, like the 3K that you're talking about. If you had 8 stages in a 3K, that might be doable. I'd have to run through it and look at the numbers to see what that would look like, but that would be more realistic, I would think.
Well, Adam Maxwell ran the Trekker match. He's run that one a couple years, and they do like a very unique style where it's basically you're accumulating points as you run through there. And so each target you hit is a point. And so you run to a stage, it's not timed except for the whole match. You run to a stage and you shoot 5 targets, you hit 4, you get 4 points. And then you move on to the next stage. But that is a very low number of runners involved in that, and there's no real start and finish. You just run round and round and round until the 2-hour time limit is up.
Yeah.
So that's its own little animal. I kind of like the idea of a start and a finish, though, especially when you're throwing in obstacles in the race.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're looking at it, keeping it. Both of us, it looks like, or all of us, keeping it more like a traditional 5 or 10K. Just with shooting stages along the way, so we're combining two different events into one.
Yeah, exactly like that. All right, well, Cody, thanks, man. I appreciate your time and your knowledge and sharing it with us and with the 3-Gun Show audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for your time, Cody.
Thank you, Mike.
Hopefully, we can spread a little bit of the run and gun to the 3-gunners and vice versa. And mend the bridges that I burned in the first part of the podcast here.
We'll try.
Everybody will get over it.
Yeah, hopefully. Like I look at it like giving your brother a hard time. Like we're all out here.
Sure.
We're all out here to shoot and to have fun. And so any time people are on the clock and competing is good for me. So sorry for what I said earlier, everybody. But thank you for being a part of it. And Cody, again, thank you, sir, for being on the 3-Gun Show.
Thanks so much.
All right. Take care, Cody.
Hey, before you take off, Cody did test out his scoring method that we discussed in the podcast, and he figured out it would not work as it would require too many additional staff and tablets. As a parallel path, I did contact Practice Score through their answers interface, which you can find linked up in the show notes here at 3gunshow.com/episode 184. And Practice Score said that they are working on a run and gun module for Practice Score, it's pretty cool, right? This podcast is brought to you by Armalite, the original. Armalite rifles put the AR in AR-15. The rifles themselves come with 1 8 twist barrels, match barrels, 18-inch or 13.5-inch with a 15-inch or 12.5-inch handguard, Timney trigger, Luth AR stock, adjustable gas system, tunable comp, a patented tunable comp. This thing's ready to go right out of the box for a 3-gun with no additional modifications other than putting on a nice optic. I myself use a Vortex Viper PST 1-6 when I'm shooting TAC Ops or their Spitfire when I'm shooting limited. Check them out at armalite.com.
Quick reminder that if you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcast content, so you will always get the very latest. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'm Dave Hartman, and I'll see you on the range.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.